Holy Nova is an interesting spell. It's basically an AoE that also heals people hit by it. Pretty standard stuff, right? How could it have changed all that much in the years of its life as a pretty boring AoE? Well, I'll tell you, Holy Nova actually has a very long history of being almost a useless spell. That was OP like 1 or 2 times in its lifespan, and went through a whole bunch of weird changes to try to make it relevant. Holy Nova in its first form was the final talent point choice for the Priest's Holy Tree. It was an AoE spell that did very little damage and had the added benefit of reducing your threat by a little bit. All on a 5-second cooldown. Surprisingly, it wasn't very good or useful in this form. Later on in Vanilla, it was moved from the final talent in Holy to way lower in the tree, which could be obtained with 10 talent points. So pretty easy to get to. It was also changed a bit. Its cooldown was removed, and would also heal allies hit by it as well as do its AoE damage, and cause no threat instead of reducing it. And this is pretty much how the spell worked for the longest time. The no threat part of the spell made it pretty situationally wonderful. Like if you wanted to heal a hunter trying to tame a hard-hitting pet back when taming took 20 seconds and lowered your defenses. This was the only heal in the game which caused no threat, and was the ideal hunter taming partner, since hunters had to keep aggro on the pet while channeling for 20 seconds. Other than this specific instance, it wasn't any more useful than other spammable instant AoEs, like a mage's arcane explosion. Was good for defending flags and battlegrounds, trying to pop a rogue out of stealth and killing a hunter's snakes from their snake trap instantly. As for saving people from dying in raids, this spell would never do that. Spamming it during high damage phases was not very ideal. Its range was pretty small, and you could heal more than its AoE by just casting literally any other healing spell. It's one of those fluff abilities that were abundant in the game from Vanilla to Wrath, which wasn't very useful generally in PvP or raiding, but did have some situational usefulness in very niche settings. In the Burning Crusade, there was a very well-kept secret dual talent tree build that made Holy Nova pretty useful in 5-man dungeons, and really good for soloing. What you do is take advantage of the fact that for some reason, while Surge of Light proc was active and you had Inner Focus active, your Holy Nova would cost no mana and gain the 25% crit buff, despite the 2 talents not really having anything to do with Holy Nova. Surge of Light had a 50% chance to proc off of crits, and made your next Smite instant cast and cost no mana. Nothing to do with Holy Nova. Inner Focus was a cooldown that would lower the mana cost of your next ability by 100%, and give it 25% extra crit, which did work on Holy Nova. This cooldown didn't have a time duration, meaning you could cast it and it would just stay as a permanent buff until you casted your next ability. And for some reason, Surge of Light was causing it to not be consumed by Holy Nova. So as long as you kept getting crits, you could pretty much keep the Inner Focus buff up permanently. But to add on to that, the Shadow Tree had a talent which gave you 100% extra spirit for 15 seconds after killing something that rewards experience or honor. And there was a Holy talent that gave you 25% extra healing and spell power based on your spirit stat. So with these 4 talent points working in tandem, a priest could run through a dungeon doing both good damage and healing while using 0 mana, which was kind of a big deal because mana was a pretty big problem for literally every single class that used it. And this little bugged talent interactions were fixed pretty late into the Burning Crusade. So it lasted a while, and most people never knew about it, since no one really ever used Holy Nova regularly. In Wrath, the spell was made baseline and no longer a Holy talent. In Cataclysm, they made it so Holy Nova didn't have a cap on the number of people it could heal, but did reduce healing for every person past 4, and had a glyph that reduced its global cooldown by 0.5 seconds, essentially allowing you to cast it at max haste. Still wasn't very good. In Mist, the ability was turned into a glyph with a 5-person heal limit instead of unlimited, with pretty much the same damage and healing as before, and still not really used. Then comes Warlords of Draenor. Blizzard decided to nerf this priest's only AoE heal Prayer of Healing by giving it an unfairly high mana cost while reducing its healing. But to compensate, they turned Holy Nova into this go-to AoE heal and made it actually heal for a significant amount. And it was mana efficient. It was really good. Players actually were spamming Holy Nova like at no other point in WoW's history. Since it was the start of the expansion, your eye level was low and mana regen is always terrible at the start. And since Holy Nova was a mana efficient heal, all things were good in the world. Blizzard then quickly nerfed its healing by 15% to make sure Disc Priest stopped using it so much. So every Disc Priest did stop using it and just ignored it like they did in the past. The only thing is though, their old go-to AoE heal was still nerfed into the ground. So Blizzard just let Disc Priest bubble spam again rather than try and fix their AoE healing problem. Which, to be fair, did make Disc excellent raid healers. Bubble spamming has really good raid healing. That's why they nerfed it into the ground in Legion. Not that I really mind, bubble spamming is a really boring way to heal. Holy Nova was better in Warlords than it's ever been in the past. It was a mana-efficient raid heal that did okay-ish numbers. It's just Disc Priests didn't have mana problems, and their most used spell, Power Word Shield, is already pretty damn mana-efficient. So Holy Nova was still able to live up to its history, and wasn't used very often. In Legion, it was given to Holy Priests, and probably won't be used very much either.